Sometimes we get caught up in the musings of our own mind, and whether that's worrisome things, whether that's things that cause us anxiety, whether it's things that cause us to be fearful, we just keep regurgitating those thoughts over and over. And often we try to think about, how can I change my perspective? And I believe Psalm 145 and verse 5 gives us a good principle for how we can change our perspective when we feel like our brain is just going down rabbit trails of worry and concern and fear and anxiety. Psalm 145 verse 5 says, "On the glorious splendor of your majesty," that is speaking of God, "and on your wonderful works I will meditate." On the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wonderful works I will meditate. You know, sometimes what we're meditating on is the news. Sometimes what we're meditating on is the latest crime statistics. Sometimes what we're meditating on is what one politician or political party has said about the other. Sometimes what we're meditating on are interpersonal struggles that go on in our lives. And we just go over and over and over and over them in our brain. It's kind of a frenzied cycle of feeding those feelings of despair and worry and anxiety and hopelessness and fear that we have. And so I would encourage us this week to break that cycle, not by just thinking happy thoughts, not just by kind of being a Pollyanna and taking a happy view of life, but by focusing on the glorious splendor of your majesty. That is, on who God is, and then on his wonderful works. When we focus our attention on who God is and on what he's done, that powerful truth can change our perspective. We find those truths in God's word. We find those truths in Christian hymns and music. We find those truths as we spend time together in community, at church, and in life group. We can find those truths just in having a conversation with somebody else where we say, I need to be reminded of who God is and of what he's done, because right now what's consuming me is all of the temporal things that are going on in my life. I would encourage you today to spend some time thinking about who God is and what he's done. Maybe even take out paper and pencil and write down some things that you want to be meditating on. It's as we meditate on the hugeness of who God is and the magnificence of what he's done that our perspective is enlarged and our eyes lift from the temporal to the eternal. My prayer is that your thoughts today would be on who God is, on what he's done, and that by filling your mind with those things, you would have peace that then you would be able to share with others.